Hello students, welcome to our Literature Symposium. Today we're going to explore one of the colorful and historical members of the world literature. Would you be able to guess which literature is it? 3, 2, 1. Did you guess it right? If you answered Africa, it's definitely correct and you did a fantastic job. What are we waiting for? Let's learn more about African culture and the prominent African literature. First, let's get to know Africa better. Here are 5 facts about Africa. With 54 countries, 10 territories, and 2 de facto, Africa is the second largest continent in the world. There are between 1,500 to 2,000 languages that are spoken in Africa. The most common were Arabic, followed by English and Swahili, as well as French. Flowing northward through 11 countries, Nile, the world's longest river, is also located in the African continent. Africa is also the home of the world's oldest existing and continually operating educational institution, the University of Kairouan. And as we all know, the world's largest hottest desert is also in Africa, the Sahara Desert. Now let's learn the African literature. This is a collection of the traditional oral and written works in Afro-Asiatic, African, and European languages. Traditional written literature is limited to a smaller area than oral literature. It is also of those sub-Saharan cultures that have participated in Mediterranean culture. African literature is broad and diverse due to the historical tradition and European colonization. African literature also focuses on history, culture, and customs of a group of people when they're telling their stories. The African literature is known for their literary works in oral form. Oral literature including stories, dramas, riddles, histories, myths, songs, proverbs, and other expressions is frequently employed to educate and entertain children. Oral histories, myths, and proverbs additionally serve to remind whole communities of their ancestors' heroic deeds, their past, and the precedents for their customs and traditions. Orature is an African oral literature that centers on love and praise poems, as well as ritual dramas, moral instructions, and tales. Epic, poems, and narratives are also included. These literary works are usually in the proverbs or fable forms. And now let's go to the art of storytelling. Storytelling is the most known form of literature of Africa, not only in the continent, but throughout the world. This form of literature has been utilized to teach morals, maintain cultural values, resolve natural and physical phenomena, hand down ways of survival, and to praise their supreme being. There are 2 types of storytellers: the griot and the griot. The griot is a man storyteller that is also the keeper of the facts and important events of his time. His responsibility is to pass his knowledge on to the future generations. We also have the griot, the female storyteller that sings at ceremonies, celebrations, and special occasions. Now here are the known themes of African literature. We have liberation and independence, disillusionment, reclaiming of voice and subjectivity, displacement and rootlessness, abusive power, negritude, social problems, the clash between indigenous and colonial cultures, condemnation of European subjugation, pride in the African past, hope for the continent's independent future, and struggle for national identity. Modern versus ancient African literature. Ancient African literature. These are the works date to 800 BCE. In the later part of the first millennium BCE, Nubian texts were written in a combination of Egyptian hieroglyphs and a cursive script called Meroitic. Ancient Coptic literature was written by indigenous Egyptians in the first millennium CE. The modern African literature. Now, these are written in indigenous African languages as well as in European languages used in Africa. Written African literature is very new compared to the indigenous oral tradition of literature, which has been there and is still very much alive. African literature, whether modern or ancient, regardless of the time difference or the difference in form of writing, Africans do not radically separate art from teaching. Rather than write or sing for beauty in itself, African writers take their cue from oral literature, use beauty to communicate important truths and information to society. Now, here are some known literary works and authors in African literature. First, we have Chinua Achebe. He is a Nigerian novelist, a poet, professor, and critic. He's known for his novel Things Fall Apart. Next famous writer is Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She is a Nigerian writer and the most prominent by the Times Literary Supplement. She is well known for her novel Purple Hibiscus. And lastly, we have Mariama Ba. She is a Senegalese author and feminist. She is known for her creation, So Long a Letter.
Hi students, today we'll be having a literary analysis about one of the most famous literary pieces of African literature that's written by Chinua Achebe. The title of the story is Dead Man's Path. The literary pieces Dead Man's Path by Chinua Achebe teaches us the repercussions of being overly competitive to the point where we're already insensitive and disrespectful to other people's customs, beliefs, and feelings. When we are already blinded by our passion, our actions tend to be driven by our selfish desires and ego. Our judgment will be clouded with arrogance, and in the end, all of these hard works, what we call hard works, will be useless, since people around us will most likely turn against us as well. The story uses the plot of social realism as it refers to an example of genuine socio-political conditions of a working-class individual in the character of Mr. Michael Obi. The story's title foreshadows the scenarios that took place in the narrative, especially the actions, experiences, consequences, and the other dark events portrayed by the main character, Mr. Obi. The title, Dead Man's Path, does not only pertain to the ancestral pathway, moreover alludes to Michael Obi's choices of actions. By not meeting halfway with the villagers and not compromising with their cultural belief, this decision is a path that made him be considered as a dead man. Rather than a literal death, the word dead in the title actually refers to Michael Obi's failure. His ambition died because of these actions. The story also displays an ancient tribal belief and practices of South Africa. Like the usual literary pieces, the ancient literary pieces, it talks about the ancient beliefs or customs of South Africa. This story is in particular with the Igbo village in Nigeria. Part of Igbo villagers' respected local deities, their tradition of using a footpath to connect their village shrine to their departed loved one's burial place. The belief is really symbolic for the villagers as they feel that the path is being used by their dead relatives to cross over and by their ancestors whenever they want to visit. They also believe that this footpath is the trail for the children coming in to be born. The writer, Chinua Achebe, who is a prominent writer in the African literature, is actually a member of the Igbo tribe himself and is aware of numerous cultural conflicts that their tribe encounters, especially with the Western culture or, for example, culture of the Christian beliefs. He is known for his literary works that focus on history, politics, masculinity and femininity, as well as the culture of colonialism. Dead Man's Path is one of his masterpieces that implies the conflict of tribal culture meeting modern ideologies and ignorance to other people's customs and traditions. African literature is not only important because of its relevant setting and relatable storylines. It also increases our social awareness, and it also raises awareness of social, political, and economic crises that the African continent is facing.